I saw a quote that said, if women slept their way to the top, more women would be at the top. And it's true. It's true. They kind of aid to that because I've had so many times people talk about when they see successful women, it's always, I mean, you're getting your bwana, oh, sijui what. But then these same women are not at the top. They're not in these spaces where these men who they slept with have taken them to. And most of the women who are successful that I know have actually fought tooth and nail to be where they're at. But then I want to talk about the other side of the coin because in my growth, I started to realize that merit wasn't really getting me farther than all my other privileges that I had. And I talk about this in the episode where I talked about porn. And I talk about how in my earlier ages, I started to realize that when my boobs started to grow and I started to become, let me put in quotes, prettier, I started getting different attention, especially from the male gaze. And so I decided pretty early on. Imagine I was 8 years old, 9 years old, 12, 11, and I had the realization, the clear realization that um people liked me and they treated me better because they could clearly see my boobs looked nice, and that's the only reason they treated me better. Nobody really cared that I was a really, really smart girl, or that I could articulate my thoughts really well, or that I was an amazing. I mean, nobody cared about all those things. When people were nice to me because of how I looked, and as a young girl I decided, okay, this is what I was going to use. So I realized that merit didn't get me farther than sexuality did. And so during retrospection, I realized that yes, I would get opportunities, but as long as men were involved in me getting these opportunities, there was also sexual innuendo. They would give me spots and then they would dangle the loss of these spots in my face so that I knew what time it was. Like, so that I knew, okay, you're only here because, I want to fuck you. And for the longest time, because my frontal lobe hadn't developed, I never used to see this as an issue. Also, because so many women around me, doing it or were accepting it, I didn't know that it was a boundary I could enforce for myself. I just thought this is what happens. And so when I wasn't being sexual, or when I wasn't showing up as sexual as these people expected me, because yeah, if you hear the name Roberta Bobby ni ule demwa sex, and then I show up and I'm not dressed skimpily, I'm not talking about sex, I'm not trying to fuck in the first minute, or my conversations are not sexualized, then these opportunities would start to get taken away from me. And it would go further when I would refuse to agree to sex or refuse to allow sexual jokes to fly. And then I started to notice that I'd get blackballed for this because, hey, why is a sex girl here and she's not having sex? Why is she here and she's not agreeing to talk about sex? Why isn't she agreeing to fuck? I thought that's her whole thing. I thought that's her gig. She comes in, she talks about sex, she fucks, and then that's it. And then people started realizing, oh, kumbe this girl has opinions and she has a voice and she can talk about things. Kumbe she's not just all about Tinguinho. And this is funny because if I recounted the number of times I have been blackballed or lowballed or ignored or dismissed because I refused to agree to anything sexual, or because the person who was providing the opportunities wanted to fuck me and I refused, bro, I would go so far because I started this blog 8 years ago, almost 10 years ago. So imagine all that time. And these were my formative years when I was young and I was, I was naive, could easily get taken advantage of. So if imagine all these times, and the other part of me says maybe I would have got ahead in my if I agreed. But then I look around at all the women who agreed to opportunities for sex, and I see how damaged they are psychologically or mentally, or how repulsed they are sexually, or just how sad and riddled with anxiety and sometimes depression they are because they were being taken advantage of. They make it look like it's sinuome decide kunidinya. Things like going to his house and then being in his house and then you guys end up having sex, and you go home feeling like, did I really agree to that? And everyone else around you will gaslight you like, yeah, why did you go to his house? By agreeing to go to his house, you're agreeing to have sex with him. And you're sat there thinking, okay, so it's my fault, it's my fault. These women were being taken advantage of. They didn't know better. It's not that I was better than them because I didn't say yes. Maybe I just didn't find opportunities like that. So then I had an easier way saying no. If I could remember, there's an article I'm putting out. I talk about this, the oldest man I've ever dated. I met this man when I was 23 years old, but I ended up dating him later. And that time he was in his late 40s or maybe early 50s even. Actually, yeah, he was in his early 50s already. And you see, the thing with when these people approach you with, they're trying to fuck you for sports or for a gig, or when they're trying to groom you, it's never violent. They don't come to you with, if you sleep with me, I'll give you this job, or if you fuck me, I'll pay for your what. That's not what they do. They come to you so lovingly and like they care about you, and they will fake their whole personality, and you will think they are in love with you, they want you, they care about you, they can't stop thinking about you, and you will fall for it easily unless you're old enough to see, or unless you're old enough to have your own stuff. Then you can be able to say, oh, I don't want to have sex with you, I can do that for myself. So like I wanted to talk about this thing I was supposed to do. I won't go into detail about it, but it was a pretty big deal. It was a huge gig. Juicy, I was trying to text the producer because the production has been stalled for like a year now. And I was trying to find out more information like, can we do something different? What is it we need to do? But our conversations are consistently centered around me letting him down sexually, showing him that I will not have sex with him, that I'm not interested in having sex with him. And they used to just be jokes because I've never taken him seriously in such a way. But this guy, Kumbe, he's been serious. Like in his head, he thought I was going to put out that eventually he would coerce me into agreeing to have sex with him. And maybe he thought that, because I was afraid of losing the gig, or I was afraid of losing the opportunity, that maybe it would make me change my mind. But I stuck because I didn't like him and I didn't want him. I stood my ground and I made it clear that I was not comfortable with the sexual discussions and stuff. Let's just do the work that brought us here. This Jama blocked me. I won't be surprised if I see another lady has been given the gig, or if I see everything else proceeding without me being involved. But at this point, especially at my age, it's become something that I can see from a moment ago, and I can start to kind of think about it and be like, nah, that's not something I want for myself. So these guys, they will lie to you, and they would lie to me, and they would get me to soften up. And this pushed me to know to deserve better. I was forced to learn better so that I can start demanding my worth. And immediately I did that. Immediately I stopped kikiking and laughing about these stupid sexual jokes that put me in this box of this girl who's only good for sex. They would call me entitled and spoiled. But you have to remember that I don't know what that say. I don't know how for sure that saying goes. The nice girl doesn't get the corner office. If you keep allowing for people to sexualize everything about you without wanting to get to know who you are, and this is how I found most of my interactions with men are. Doesn't matter what forum we're at, it doesn't matter which man I'm talking to, the smartest, the kindest, the whatever, there's always that undertone of sex, like, so do you fuck, or are you gonna fuck me? It pisses me off, but I talk about it all the time on this podcast. I talk about it all the time, but it's kind of like something I've had to teach myself to cope with and to learn to just ignore and shut down immediately, because these people exist everywhere. I realized that people would take advantage of me a lot, and I had to teach myself how to negotiate even with money, because someone will talk to you about how they like you, how they want to put you in this spot, how they like you, and immediately you catch feelings and they sleep with you. You quickly realize that they were never going to give you that gig. They were never going to pay you. They were hoping they could, put you down with their fake emotions and fake feelings and fake talk about a relationship and love and blah 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 blah. Immediately you fall for it. Sometimes you get to do the job for them, or sometimes you think it's going to go somewhere, but then they drop you immediately. They got what they wanted. And And you can't really pay me by hitting on me because I have real bills now. Maybe it could have worked on me when I was 23 or 22, but now I'm paying my own bills. So I need to see the money up front. I need the serious discussions about business up front before you can start talking to me about how you like me and how I'm beautiful. And even those comments, I take them with a grain of salt. I do not let them get to my head because if we're here for business, let's just do the business fast. I don't care because I'm not naive anymore and I don't have any fear. I used to think also that sex could get me anything I want because being young and realizing that my sexuality was opening doors for me, that my merit was not I started to realize that I could get anything I want. Mimi, I was here thinking I'm the smart one who's making all the decisions, calling all the shots. But bro, I quickly realized that I was being groomed. And grooming, the definition of grooming is when someone is preparing you for a certain activity. So they lead with pretense. They make you feel like, they love you, they give you all this validation, or that they care about you, or that they're gonna do whatever for you. So you start to soften up, and punde si punde, you realize that this is something they do to everyone and it's just their character. So I see this as ineffective to my friends who had present father figures, my friends who had a present, loving, protective father. They don't fall for this shit. Mimi, who my fathers were not there. I have two dads, that's why I said fathers. Mimi, who had two fathers who were very, very absent, especially emotionally, it would catch me all the time. I always found myself dating older men who I thought were better because they were richer. But really, they were just better at manipulation. They were just smarter at manipulation. And then they had the money to back it up. Someone tells you, Bobby, come and do this gig with me. Kidogo anaanza kukukatia unaingia box. But juu vitu zingine zina check, you don't pay attention to your own needs, to the things you want for yourself. And that's how you get taken advantage of in the relationship. I have these conversations so that I can speak to younger people, especially women, because I wish I had a strong presence of parents, because this would have changed so many things for me. The way I relate in my relationships would have been so much better than all these lessons I've had to learn with time. These are things I should have learned growing up so that no one had the opportunity to take advantage of me because maybe I was desperate, or because I needed money, or because I needed a job. And something that vitu kama poverty, they really, really take the dignity away from you. Things like having no financial stability, having a lot of desperation, the power dynamics in your relationships, you really have to be wiser so that no one can take advantage of you. And even for my one on one sessions, sometimes when the men book me, they start to lead the conversations towards, can I show you my penis? Can I wank while I listen to your voice? And it's like, it's so disrespectful. I don't know why. I don't know in which circles people let these things slide with them. But for me, it just makes me feel like I wish I knew better when I was younger, because younger me would have probably felt too scared to speak up. Now I just shut it down. Shut it down. I just shut it down immediately. I see it happening. Being a woman means you need extra awareness. Please don't sleep with anyone who gives you an ounce of attention or validation, or says things that make you feel like you're falling in love. Grooming isn't always violent. They're not going to come to you and, take away from you with violence. They're going to be kind and nice, and they're going to be the sweet people, the nice people who show you they care about you. They're going to pretend that they're taking care of you and that they actually give a fuck. But really, hakuna kitu ka hiyo. You will feel very violated afterwards. And that's when you'll start to ask yourself questions like, did I really need this opportunity that bad? Like, yes, my rent has been paid, but at what cost? Am I happy? And listen, I say this because these situations are not consensual. Kuna zile relationships, hizi vitu ni consensual. Like, yes, ndakudinya uni. Even though there's still undertones of abuse to it, when both parties are very aware, it's different from when one person is being taken advantage of and being used. So you have to stay vigilant. You have to really, really make sure you're big on taking care of yourself, taking care of your body, because you'll never see it coming, but you will always feel the feeling of being used afterwards. This happens every day. It's not just for people who want to give you opportunities or jobs. People will want to sleep with you only, but they will sell you a dream and a lie about commitment and a relationship and wanting to be with you. And that's using sex to manipulate you. As long as lies have been used, it's not consensual. Please be vigilant. Make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you monitor how people make you feel at the end of interactions so that you're able to realize, did I really want this or was I being taken advantage of? Do not let anyone use you. Do not let anyone have a one up on you, especially using sex. Take charge of your sexual life and heal and take care of yourself better so that you're able to spot when someone is trying to dangle opportunities in front of you just so you can have sex with them. The vice versa is that people, I'll say women, also use sex to get what they want. They do this by lying and by manipulating other people. Please don't fall for it. You have to be able to see it when it's coming. And I know so many people are really, really good at manipulation, but either side of the coin is manipulation. As long as there's no consent, as long as there's no agreement to, yes, I want this kind of a relationship, then people are using each other and not using each other in a good way. It's not symbiotic in a positive way. It's just detrimental to your mental health and your emotional health. So please heal and work on yourself so that you're able to spot. And when someone is trying to use sex to get something from you, make sure you're using your conscious mind to decide if it's something you really, really want for yourself. Please be careful, take care of yourself, and remember, people are evil out there. If you love yourself enough, you'll be able to protect yourself better. There's so many opportunities where you do not have to use your sexuality or your sex to get into. Merit can very well be used. Other things can be used. Pretty privilege. Sidri, what? Your amazing ability to be who you are. All these things are valid. So please don't let anyone ever take advantage of you, especially using sex. Stay vigilant and love yourself. Toodles.